Good evening. It is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th, and I call the meeting of the Whately Select Board to order. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the meetings from October 22nd, 2024. Any questions, comments, or corrections?
None for me.
None from me either.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 To review and discuss vendor and payroll warrants. Any questions or concerns or discussions?
Nothing.
Nothing from me as well. Public comment, residents may provide comments up to 3 minutes on items not on the agenda. I don't see anybody on Zoom.
No.
And everybody in the room is accounted for other items. Move ahead. Old business. ARPA CLFRF, review, discuss, and vote on project updates and obligations. Fred and Pete, you've been working on this.
So the first item to take action on is the library window and chimney repair restoration project has completed now. There is $110 left in from that obligation. So if the board would like to vote to close that project and unobligate the remaining $110. The second item to note is I had mentioned last time that the mini split project that we paid for through ARPA funds at the elementary school resulted in a rebate of $26,550 that has to go back into the original source account, which means that that $26,550 will come back into our ARPA funds for further appropriation. We have not received it yet. It should be coming in the next week or so, but it does mean now that we have additional 26,000 on top of the 600, so about $27,000 to now obligate towards the project. We have talked about second phase of mini splits at the elementary school before. There's also been the request for a mini split at the fire department at about $10,000. I could, if the board is interested, I could find out from Darius if what we could do, because any mini split is going to result in rebate monies that is going to come back into this account that we then cannot obligate because it'll be past December 31st by the time we actually get the money. So one question is there a way for us to put in an order for the mini splits, get an approval on the rebate so that we obligate in excess of what you have, knowing that the money that we're getting back will bring us to a level fund. So essentially, could we buy 3 mini splits at 33,000 or whatever the dollar amount is, even though you only have 27,000, knowing that we're going to get 6,000 back? If I can get confirmation from Darius that we know that the offset will bring us to the final number is the actual number that you have available. So you're not overspending because we're gonna backfill it. That's one option. Otherwise, we find a project that's not rebate.
As long as that doesn't break any rules.
That's the other question. Yeah.
I had two thoughts on this. One was, didn't Pete request a mower, which I don't think we bought last year?
Oh,
Which was right around $27,000.
really? Okay, I can ask Keith about that.
Yeah.
And the other was, is it legal accounting wise to essentially overfund, like, it's almost like what you're talking about there, overfund something which has been ordered but not yet delivered, like police vehicle or something? Do we have a police vehicle on order?
But we've already appropriated.
Yeah, you don't have to have received it by the end of this year.
Well, no, I know we've appropriated, I'm talking about over appropriating, to cover overruns or whatever, but then the excess monies can go back to the other account, not
To
this account.
the general fund. Yeah,
It's
I think
accounting dodgy.
my
but-
guess is there might be a rule against that, I'm guessing.
I mean, it
because-
sounds sort of like the producers, but
Right, but I mean,
As a part of a revenue loss, there might be some way, but I think if your order was placed prior to this allocation in general from
Yeah.
from ARPA, you probably couldn't, but if it was something that was ordered after the creation of the ARPA funds, it might be possible, so
I mean,
you're thinking the
I mean,
police.
we've got don't we have a hybrid police vehicle on order? I believe we do.
Look, I'm guessing, and I'm gonna leave this in Pete's hands, because I think he's in the best position to figure out whether what we're proposing is legal or not, and I
I
don't
think
wanna
Dara would have
propose.
something to
Yeah,
say about that too.
I think we need to find.
But I think the other way is the mower, which we did
The
not.
mower's a good idea.
did not- as long as we can get it ordered in
Yeah.
time with bidding
Yeah.
and whatever.
Or is there anything on the capital list from
Well,
last
we
year?
could go through combis, and get something off the
Okay, but if I
procurement
can
list.
suggest checking with Pete,
Yeah.
that I remember that number was right in the high 20s.
Okay, no, that's a good idea.
So should we unobligate the
Yeah,
110
I would
right now
move
and
that
then
we
come back to the
close that
next
process,
meeting?
yeah.
I would move that I know there's words in
There is.
here. So,
Here, right here.
Move on. I move that the board close out the library window and chimney repair restoration project and unobligate the remaining $110.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we will
Anyways, I'm breaking
get
from me.
more information at our next meeting about what's possible with the money that we're into the meeting, receiving the rebate. New business, town clerk, request for electronic voting and tabulators. You want to go there, Amy?
Please just say yes so I can move on with my life.
I actually haven't changed my opinion on this. I think it has to be voted on at a town meeting, and I don't think we should do it at a select board meeting.
Mhm.
And
If we wait until town meeting, I just want to remind the board that I'm not going to have the grant.
well, it should have been on the special town meeting then or something, right? It's just,
Well, just a note though, Mass General Law, Chapter 54, Section 34 says that it's the select board that is the authority to decide whether or not you.
but we are not the final people to decide on appropriation.
Not appropriation, no, but
So-
you actually have to take a vote as the executive body of the community, whether you are going to use electronic voting tabulators or not. So that would be one step, and then the next step would be funding it. Or you could do it vice versa, but
I think we could do it vice versa. I do feel like we need the community to vote on this. When I was counting, everybody's like, you know, I've heard from both sides. I've heard clearly from Amy. And I know this one doesn't cost us very much, and we don't have to use it at every election. But I've also heard people saying they don't want to do it. Yeah, I've heard a lot of
if we
people.
have the top of the tabulators, we are not obligated to use them.
Is that so, Amy?
Say that again, Fred?
If we purchase electronic tabulators, we are not obligated to use them at every election, correct?
They would not be used at every election, and because they won't be used at every election, we would still be considered a hand count paper ballot community, because I would use it for smaller elections, the original ballot box for the smaller elections.
So I think we could approve the purchase of them with the intention of finding out whether the community wanted to use them at every election or some elections. But if we're gonna lose $15,000 or whatever it is.
I don't think we should have an election to decide on every election, but
Well,
I hear what you're saying.
but I think we can have them and not use them, but if we don't purchase them now, we lose the opportunity to buy them later with the grant money. So we can come up with a policy for what elections they are going to be used for after we have them. How does that sound?
Well, I'm not going to win this vote, I understand that. But I think my viewpoint has been all along, and it has not changed, that I think the decision to use our current system or move on to tabulators is something I would like to see happen.
Which we can still do. But this is a question of not foregoing grant money. If we decide we want to go with tabulators, we get
Then it's-
paid for now rather than have to pay for them ourselves
You
later.
have to pay more for them later.
When, Amy, when does the grant money go away?
December 31st.
This
Look, I understand what you're saying. That the decision could be just to buy some tabulators and then make a decision later about whether to use them. I guess I don't think, I guess I disagree with Mass General law. I don't think the select board should be the ones to make that decision.
And the select board doesn't have to be the one, then we can rubber stamp a decision later, but both of these funding sources go away on December 31st.
And it's November 12th, so we
Right.
have a little bit of time. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, Amy's rolling.
I
her
think
eyes.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm just looking up.
we should probably just vote on it tonight, and I am completely fine with not being on the winning side. But I don't like how it played out, that like, I didn't think of it when we were going through the motions before, but why didn't I get on this special town meeting at least?
Cause,
I think
because it's the select board that's got the.
Well-
Because you wanted the informational session and,
Yeah,
yeah,
nonetheless,
And
I
unfortunately-
still think the order is wrong, and I'm not gonna win this vote. I think I can tell.
I just want to reiterate what Julie just said. The reason why it's not going to town meeting is because like Pete said, the select board
Yeah.
is the one in
This
charge
is-
of saying yay or nay.
But this is the first time I've heard that. That never came up at our previous meetings, so.
And I just think for now, approving the money for it and purchasing them with money that is going to go away anyway is simply keeping our options open for how we want to conduct elections.
I understand your viewpoint.
Amy, if we purchase them using the grants that you have available, are we obligated to use them at all,
like ever.
ever?
I mean, technically no, but I feel like that would be a waste of funding. I wouldn't want to use funding that somebody else could have used. Like, I don't want to take funding from somebody else that could have used it. You know what I
Right,
understand
so
what
if
I'm
we
trying to
use
say.
funding that is taking it away from another town that could have used it,
The ARPA money just goes back to the federal treasurer.
okay.
That's not going into any other town. I don't know what the grant money pool is.
But to your point, Julie, our purchasing does not mean that you can't even use the tabulators until the board has taken a vote that you are going to use electronic tabulators. So your acquisition of the tabulators does not dictate that you must use them now. You have to have that separate vote.
Okay, and I have to say that I know you feel that you won't win this vote, and I'm squarely torn. I counted votes on election night, and my vote counting partner and I ran into some problems, and we counted one batch of 50 over the course of 3 hours, because we counted it 3 times. Now, if you want to know, are we dedicated to making a correct count of the will of the citizens, you have your answer there. So at the end of the night, I was like, oh my God, I never want to do that again. On the other hand, I learned a lot from doing that, and I would do it differently the next time so that we didn't run into that. So I'm quite torn, and I don't think I could cast a deciding vote in either direction this evening. Partially, also, I will say, from a mistrust of electronic machines.
These tabulators are not connected to the internet.
But they're programmed.
They are programmed, yes.
And I still say you choosing to spend money to purchase them now does not obligate us to use them. We can still have that discussion.
Right.
We are not having a vote on, from mass law, whatever, tonight. This is simply economic. spending money which goes away in 6 weeks.
Amy, I'm gonna put another question to you. Well, first of all, I really appreciate everything you've gone through to bring the information to us, to get grants, to advocate for this. I think you've gone above and beyond. My question is, when you had a team of 20 people counting votes on election night, and if you look, don't look at me and my counting partner who royally had trouble with it, did you feel that that was satisfactory for hand counting?
For hand counting, we have never had that many counters come out before, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
If we could do that every single time, that would be amazing. It cost me a total of almost $1,000 in payroll for that day. So that was pretty loaded. But-
Something to do the programming. So even for that, it's,
I'd
the
like to hear
ongoing
Amy
cost.
finish her
Oh, I'm
thought
sorry.
first.
If I could get that many people and the amount of money to count, for payroll, I would still lean towards a tabulator because after the counters all leave, I still have about 2 hours worth of work even after they leave. I
Right.
worked 21 hours on Tuesday. And that is just the nature of a paper ballot community.
Mhm.
So selfishly, yes, I would like tabulators and not have to work 21 hours. But also, it was a huge scramble it took 3 months of me actively finding people to count. So I think that the board needs to take that into consideration as well.
Mhm.
Again, the discussion tonight isn't about whether we actually use them.
It's about whether we give her the okay to go ahead and purchase them.
Right. And I have to say, from my point of view, I don't know how I would vote on using this. Voting to purchase them, to me, does not obligate us to use them.
I'll hear a motion.
I move that we allocate $2,000 in ARPA money for the purchase of electronic voting machine tabulators.
That's contingent on the receipt of rebate monies from the elementary school movie split project.
Cause we don't have that money right now in ARPA,
Okay.
so that's why there was a contingency item in there.
Okay, contingent upon the receipt of rebate money.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
You
you.
got 'em, baby.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Next. Appointment of agricultural commissioners.
I move that the board appoint Eric Debnick and Mike Maher to the Agricultural Commission.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye. I'd also thank Margaret and Jim.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for their thank you for your service. Personnel, appointment of planning board ZBA administrative assistant.
Who is here?
Who is here?
Hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jill Strong and I am from Chester. I work for the town of Chester as well as an admin.
Currently for DPW, right?
Yeah, for our highway
Previously for the
department.
select board.
Yeah, I worked for in the board's office for a few years and was EMD for a little bit.
Where's the recommendation letter?
It's in your packet, it's right after it. It's before the,
Ah, there we go.
I
Excellent.
actually was thinking this on the way over here, were you guys a part of this a couple years, Storm 21, it was summertime, like bad flood. There was a bunch of money that like got issued later in the year.
I don't.
I remember it was like a thing, NEMA like turned everybody down and then popped up later.
We got turned down and didn't pop up later.
Okay.
Like Deerfield and Conway got money.
Yes, all right, and I wasn't sure if
Don't
you guys
bring it
were a
up.
part of that or not. Well, yeah, but that's same thing.
Yeah, oh, okay, all righty. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for presenting yourself in person, and I'm glad that you've been given a letter of recommendation, and I will accept the motion.
I move that the board appoint Jill Strong as the planning board and ZBA administrative assistant.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Very much.
You're welcome.
Nice meeting you.
I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you for coming.
That's great.
You can say we're having a rip-roaring town meeting coming up at 7:00.
You know,
Do you like housekeeping? Because if you like housekeeping, you're gonna love this town meeting. All right, select board liaison, oh no,
No.
wait, policy review and discuss and vote on the service recognition policy. Funny thing, we apparently have one.
Yeah.
Was
And who
discovered.
knew?
Nobody.
Apparently, our
Literally nobody.
collective,
So do we have to vote on it if it's already
So
in
it's already
place?
adopted. The
Yeah.
question is, does the board want to make any amendments to the current policy? Based on the previous discussion, do you like this 25 years or more? That it is,
Some of us would be really old.
yeah,
the,
not just anybody gonna get this service.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, it's just the young folk who hang out.
this is for any volunteer employee. The one thing that it says here is that the personnel committee will nominate any of those eligible volunteers, employees to the select board, meaning we have to remember to call upon a meeting of the committee to then. So
Mm.
procedurally, do you wanna do that? Or do you just wanna leave it in administration's hands? Then the select board shall consider the nominations. And it also makes it seem like a nomination, like you can turn down a recognition. Or do you just wanna be very clear cut, you will recognize 25 years or greater?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind expanding the scope of who could nominate. I think the personnel committee should still be able to nominate. But I don't think
Well, my point is,
they may not know, for example.
oh no.
Yeah, they
Do
may
you-
not know.
Do you need a nomination? If you're saying that you have served 25 or more years, that is the indicator, not somebody nominating. So if,
Mm.
like, because we keep the personnel records as well as volunteer records, administration would know those numbers. We're not nominating, we're simply
There
notifying
would
the
be a
board
natural
of
trigger, yeah.
this
Yeah.
person just left and has retired from doing all volunteer work. They served for 27 total years.
Okay, so like,
That's-
basically you're saying,
The
just
wording
delete that
is weird.
sentence.
Yeah,
If you delete the personnel committee will nominate any eligible volunteers or employees to the select board.
I just question this, the
Right.
construct of a nomination.
What if we send this back to the personnel committee, let them reconsider it and give us a
Oh,
recommendation?
Oh,
Since they haven't considered
Just
it,
don't give it back to Amy.
they haven't considered it for 8 years at this point.
right,
What do you think?
well, I think the thing that's gotta be clear is, like, how do you get considered for this? Right? And if it really is, either a volunteer or employee role for 25 years, I would assume if you were volunteering for 10 and employed for 15, then still would count as 25. Then it's sort of, it's gotta be on somebody to kind of keep track of that
Yep.
and put people up for that award.
And who
So,
would it be on?
who, yes, on whose shoulder?
On who?
Well, so
Would that
the
be?
volunteer records are held by the town clerk
Uh-huh.
and personnel is held by the town treasurer, so it's here in the office.
Yeah, it is here in the
Yeah.
office, so, so are we putting an additional task on those two people?
I think it's making them aware that when we have somebody retiring, that they should just double check what the total years of service are.
Yeah, this
We
isn't
do
something
have
that
years of
comes up,
service.
it's gonna be a major
because of
burden. This isn't gonna come up very often.
No,
Yeah,
especially if you use the 25,
right.
but then the question is, do you wanna stick with the 25? Do you feel that a quarter century is the guiding?
And you're gonna get, you're gonna get a letter that probably comes right
Well,
off
that,
of a,
yeah,
of a copy machine.
I
Unless we're
agree.
gonna get the vellum out.
I like the idea that it's not a nomination, that it's automatically triggered if somebody has been working in a volunteer or paid position for the town. For a certain number of years. I would suggest lowering the number of years to either 15 or 20, because it's, I think in this day and age, it is gonna be a rare person who's gonna stay for 25.
Yeah, and then, and then it resets. So if you're here for 30,
You get two.
you get to,
No, you have to retire.
get two copies of
To
the
get
same
it.
letter.
Yeah. Anyway,
And what if you're
That's out
employed
for
for 15 and simultaneously doing volunteer work for 15?
are those consecutive?
yeah, I think we should be generous with these non-vellum pieces of paper. Um, Well, I don't think, to make this long and drawn out, we would send it back to personnel. I think.
We have a policy in place.
Yeah.
So,
Which
Yeah.
I honestly can't say if we've been,
Yeah,
Following it.
because I don't know that anybody realized that we had it. But we need to,
okay,
we have a couple recent,
Yeah,
like, Ducky, I
wanna see,
Dougie,
yeah.
okay, and so if we were to cross out that sentence and,
So do we have the authority to
then,
amend this without
yeah,
sending it
yes.
back to?
oh yeah, it's your
Okay,
policy,
yeah.
yeah.
and then, so take that sentence out, and then the select board shall take out the entire next sentence, or the next line, shall award the distinguished service to one or more nominees that meet the requirements and the intent of this law. Meet the requirements, period. So take out everything in some brackets and change 25, you're saying to 15
Either 15 or 20.
or 20.
Yeah.
I think 15 will be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So as amended, on the spot, and we don't have to vote on this tonight, we can wait till our next meeting. But the second, paragraph would read, the award may be presented by the select board to any volunteer or employee who has continually and faithfully served the town in a formal role for 15 years or more, and will be ending his/her formal involvement with the town, e.g. retirement. The select board shall award the distinguished service to Whately award to one or more nominees that meet the requirements. To any nominees.
Yeah.
Any nominees that meet the requirement.
Okay.
So, if we want to, I mean, that, we don't always want to rush into things.
Why don't we get this
Why don't we get this
written up on
typed
the
up?
agenda for next time?
And, I don't know, which way do I send this? There you
Sounds good.
go.
Now, select board liaison updates. Fred,
At a Skins Board of Oversight meeting, nothing was, no votes taken, a couple of members weren't there. Went over financials for the year so far and everything is on target. Which means operating is a predicted loss. Rather than a bigger than predicted loss.
Okay.
I mean, so-
At least if you're
The
ready
ambulance
for it.
is not gonna operate a profit, it's not gonna operate break even, so.
okay, all right.
At the predicted, expected.
At the expected level of loss.
Okay,
So the chief is trying hard to get as much business, you know, do as many runs as they can handle.
Yeah.
Water department, we had a meeting last week. They continue to try to figure out how to balance the budget, with money coming in and money going out, and that's
With water.
like
They're just
water,
like water.
exactly,
Wow.
flowing.
You're so wise.
We've got 15 minutes more in the meeting. Joyce,
We will be having a meeting next week, the South County Senior Center Board of Oversight with the consultants. They think they have some more stuff to present to us. They actually sent ahead of time some information about, they did a little more surveying to get information from people who might use a senior center about things like, well, should it be a senior center or a community center, and in what way would that be a shared facility? And that's kind of exploring that. Not everybody agrees. But I'm gonna wait till they present that. Yeah, I know, not everybody, hey, who would have thought that, right? So there's that's gonna get talked about, and I'm hoping, they didn't send anything ahead, but I'm hoping they have some information about the two sites that were selected for them to give us more detail on, and I don't think there's more detail on those.
Are they looking at the current Deerfield Town Hall as well?
Yes,
That
that is
area,
the,
yeah.
yeah, oh, I thought I reported on that last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
That the site in Deerfield is where their town offices are right now, which was that one point
so
of elementary.
there had been a different site in Deerfield, and now looking at that one instead.
Correct.
Okay, it's not in addition to, it's
Yeah,
instead.
the church was what they originally thought, and then, but when push came to shove, or whatever the time limit came, they were actually saying it'd be better to do that elementary school site, way long ago, elementary school site. Instead, so one site in Deerfield and then this site in Whately, and I hope they will have some information on that, but if so, they're waiting to show us at the meeting, which I think is next week sometime.
No,
When
right,
is-
it got pushed.
It got pushed to next Wednesday morning, I think. Yeah, so that's it for what I think.
thank you. Town administrator updates.
I have a few. The first is with regards to the climate resilience pollinator project kickoff. This is the project where we're looking to design a pollinator corridor on town-owned land in the community to help assist with climate resilience and support the local ecosystem. And so we had a kickoff this past Thursday night at the town offices. We had 10 residents attend. The session started with an explanation of the project, an overview, went into the background of the need for resiliency, and then an outline of the various town-owned properties that are up for consideration. And then all the attendees, a couple of which are here tonight, broke into separate groups to kind of look at maps and mark up pros and cons to different areas, which now the Landscape Interactions, which is our consulting group, is now putting together that info. We'll report back, and our next meeting, public meeting, will be in January to report that information, and then to kick off a survey to help get additional wide responses to the ideas. There is a project webpage on the town website within the community development department that tracks this project. It has the presentation file, it has a bunch of the photos, but the community can log on and follow that project process, and we have a schedule on there as well. The Christian Lane Mill River Bridge updates. Keith checked in with District 2 about the status of that bridge in the state's bridge repair and replacement program. Although it's moved up slightly since the last update, it's currently 3,090 on the list.
Oh, right.
That is based on the current state of repair, its deterioration rate, and its use. And so at present, based on all of those different factors, it is considered pretty low on the list. Granted, I don't know what the total length of that list is, but unless we have further deterioration or an increase in traffic need, it will slowly move up as additional bridges get their repairs on the list. But
It's bad in that it'll be one lane for a while, it's good in that it's
Yeah.
not falling down.
yes, it's still usable.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that is unfortunately an update. With our host community agreements, the CCC contacted me last week, or the week before actually now, about a potential non-compliance, which was with that indemnification clause that we added in. After I confirmed that we are using that universally, the CCC agreed as long as we're using it, across the board. They did not have a problem, so they allowed it. So our modified model has now been approved by the CCC. So Torre Verde, has had theirs approved. We still are waiting now to hear back, on the Green Jeans and the DMC's renewals. But it is a good move or good news
Yeah.
that our model has been approved. Town hall, as you know, we have a lift over at the town hall. All of our lifts, like all elevators, require a 2-year annual inspection, or the lifts at least require it. Our town hall lift expert expired in the end of September. We were notified by our third-party provider at the end of October. Unfortunately, the state decided to step in 2 days later and shut down our lift without letting us know. Which we also were holding the polls the very next Tuesday.
Oh.
And so, as the sole polling location, we were able to finally get the state inspector to come up in a rush. The third-party provider, the inspectional company also did it. We got the lift reopened Thursday afternoon. We're fine. The inspection is now in there. The provider, our inspectional service company, acknowledged that we were missing from their list to remind us this past summer. So we didn't have that notification, which is why this fell through. The state somehow decided to act very promptly on our expiration, where normally these things go out of expiration for months to a year. Ours was prompt, but it got corrected. So at a slight, slight cost. Yeah. A slight cost, so I might have to come back later for a reserve fund requests, but we got it done.
Okay.
Quick update from the school department. They had a number of different projects, capital projects going on through FY 24 and 25 fundings. The one that is still in progress in that list is the repair to their exterior door frames and jambs. These are doors that are seeing some significant wears, primarily due to the fact that there are no gutters on those roofs. And so the water is just sheaving off and right onto the concrete, and it's splashing on the doors, and it is eating away. They are still in progress on doing that one project, but the other capital projects have been completed so far. The library has 2 outstanding ARPA-funded projects, the computer replacement project as well as the electrical system upgrades. With the computer projects, they have just ordered 2 additional Chromebooks as well as 2 hotspots that will then go into circulation for patrons. The electrical system, there's a small amount of money that's remaining in that project, which they are going to fund the installation of 2 alarm pole stations, which will be completed shortly. DPU provided a notice that Berkshire Gas, as part of their requirement, did submit their 2025 to 2027 3-year energy efficiency and decarbonization plan. That is going through a public hearing. It basically is one of the requirements under green communities where the utility deliveries have to have in place certified efficiency plans that demonstrate cost-effective energy efficiency programs that they would be using in order to achieve greenhouse gas reduction goals that were already set by the Energy and Efficiency Affairs Secretary. And so their plan does demonstrate that. It's simply, it is up for public review, and it will be going to a DPU hearing soon. And then finally, the last update is all of the zoning articles that went through annual town meeting back in June have now been reviewed and approved by the Attorney General's office. So all of those have now been implemented into the final draft, which will be recognized tonight. So thankfully we have everything in place now, just in time. There were notes, but thankfully nothing was overturned or rejected. So all of those articles are passed.
A question about one project. few meetings back, we had a notification about a remediation of a sort of Long Plain Road. It was an old,
Oh, the old landfill.
the old
Remediation,
old
but a monitoring
landfill.
requirement.
Any idea what kind of timetable or?
At present, we have a 90-day requirement to get back to, DEP with our scope of work. Our scope of work is gonna follow. I did do a site visit with the DEP representatives. It is installing 3 monitoring wells, for water and for gas. We looked at the topography of the site and the location where these wells are gonna have to go. There are a couple that are gonna be on the downslope, which is gonna require some heavier machinery to go onto it and to reach over, which will mean that it'll be a larger cost, but at present, the only requirement from DEP is that we at least have to demonstrate that, yes, we will go out and our scope of work will include this, and they already told us what the work is. The next step, once I submit that, I'm going to meet with the Board of Health just to make sure that they are in agreement. But once they do, I'll submit that to DEP, then we will need to get a cost estimate from a couple of companies based on that scope of work. And then we'll have to go to a special, not a special, but an annual town meeting, we'll have to appropriate.
I was gonna say, because does not sound like it's gonna be an inexpensive.
It's not going to be, especially because the day rental for the particular arm that we need, it could be $2,000 a day. Just for that. Granted, it's for 2 wells, but it is something that could be 1 or 2 days worth of work in order to dig that out. It
Yeah,
is just.
mostly I was asking, will we have a cost estimate in time for annual town meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
But probably not in time for ARPA funds.
no,
No.
no, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
Though the cost, I did get a rough estimate just from DEP based on like the scope, what they saw, and it was under 20,000.
Okay.
So, but still a cost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the update.
Yeah, okay, so that's, we've got at least
That is,
a
yeah.
very hopefully good.
We're meeting our requirements, we understand the scope, it's not a huge burden, but it does, once we install these, there will be ongoing testing and monitoring that, so there will be a fee that we'll have to be paying for a third-party provider to do that testing for us. But at least then we'll know if there are any off-gassing issues or any penetrator or any,
Presumably build that into the Board of Health budget annually, if I can.
I thought of a question that won't take very long. We appointed the new community development person. Their exact title is still
community development administrator.
administrator.
Yep.
Okay, and they start December
2nd.
2nd.
Yep. The first Monday of the
And remind me again their name.
Erica Roper.
Erica.
We've got her all set.
Okay, good, she's all roped in and everything. Okay,
Yep.
no, I just wanted, my memory.
Channeling for your husband.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second, all those in favor?
I
Aye.